Welcome back to Awakening in Health. It is a beautiful overcast day, I think, in Queensland, in Cairns, and I'm talking to Shane Cuthbert about crime and his passions as a local businessman in the Cairns community. So we just left off about maybe the lack of awareness and the accountability in relation to what seems to be a lot of money getting thrown at the problem of not just the poverty with Indigenous people, but poverty in general and homelessness in general. And from what I gather, Shane, that would have been maybe one of you felt strongly enough about this accountability and about what was happening in the community to kind of embark on a little bit of a journey to try and sort out some of these problems as you see them. So tell us about your future plans in relation to either being a part of that system or doing something about it, and why you feel that's important. And also, even if we talk about some hurdles you might have experienced getting there, and you know where I'm kind of taking this conversation. So please, let us know what happened there.
Yeah. Look, I mean, even just as a young law student, I made quite extensive submissions to a number of parliamentary inquiries, state government inquiries, and just to hold the government to account and influence, the direction where we're going. A lot of these inquiries, I may be one of 40 organisations that make submissions. I've been invited to speak to Parliament on a couple of occasions. One of the most recent was the Victims of Crime inquiry. So I'm doing what I can with the capacity that I have to try to make a difference. I mean, I've attended most council meetings over the last 18 months. Usually it's only myself and the Cairns Post.
Do you think there's a lot of politicism in that? Because I've got a little story that I know about that exact meeting, that Victims of Crime meeting, where it seemed when a few females stood up and maybe some Indigenous people stood up, there was rapt attention. And I think you had a very, very important story to tell. And it seems that all the people who should have been listening were tapping on their phones and sending messages.
Yeah, look, and it's like anything these days. People have a short attention span. I did talk about a few important issues, I think, and, I was invited back to meet with Jonty Bush and Peter Russo, who were Peter Russo is actually the chair of that inquiry. So I spoke to them that afternoon and the next morning again. So they were very keen to pick that up and discuss it a little bit more, and we've had the recommendations come out now. But look, I think for the most part, that was not put together very well. There was a lot of victims here that, wanted to be heard, that felt that they weren't given the opportunity or there was a lot of members of our community that they found out about it because it was on Channel 7 the night before, and they were quite upset about that. On these inquiries, there is a correct procedure, and you make submissions, and then you get invited to come along. And also there was, a little bit of, I think there was a few members of our community that were upset because our local leaders, such as Michael Healy, was not there. This was a Victims of Crime inquiry. So these are people that have experienced a lot of pain, trauma, suffering, that felt like they were not listened to. And we had an inquiry come up from Brisbane, which was great. I think people really got into that and supported that. But yeah.
Is this Australia wide or is this just Cairns? Is there a small picture, a bigger picture, or both? This is statewide.
Yeah, this was a statewide inquiry.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they came to Cairns, because not all inquiries hit the road. A lot of them, they take place in Brisbane, and if you don't have enough to pay for your flight to go down there, then your voice isn't heard. So I'm glad that they did at least take the initiative to put it on the road and come up here. I'm sure at great expense to the taxpayer anyway. But, it's good to see that, they're doing something with those and actually listening to us up here.
Will it achieve much, do you think, or is it posturing for the press? And I think there's way too much of that happening in general.
Look, I do think that after speaking with Jonty and Peter Russo, I think there was a genuine sense there and desire there to make some positive change. Jonty lost her father to a one-punch attack. and lost her sister in a domestic violence homicide. So she's someone that is very passionate about victims and change. So I think there's a genuine...
So in spite of there being a motive and a passion for the change, it seems to me that you can have all the passion you want, but we get railroaded.